Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. All right, before we start today's episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, I would like to ask everyone, first of all, to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because we're trying to build that up, and check out all of the other shows on there. We've got well over 100 shows. You can also help support the show by buying some Riding Shotgun with Charlie stickers. You can buy some Gungram stickers, and you can buy some Riding Shotgun with Charlie patches at the ridingshotgunwithcharlie.com website. And there is a Teespring store as well, so if you want to get a shirt or if you want to get a coffee mug that's got the Riding Shotgun with Charlie or the Gungram logo on them, you can get those at the Teespring store, which I will put a link in below. Welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today we are in Marlborough. I hate saying where we're at because it's really nowhere.
Yeah, it is really nowhere.
It is. We are in nowhere in Massachusetts, but we're going to be heading someplace fun. Before we start with today's episode and today's guest, we are going to apply some Lead Slinger hand sanitizer. The guy in the car today, 2 hands. There you go. Cool. I don't just water. Our passenger today is Ben DeWalt from the OnSight Firearm Training, and he is here in Massachusetts to teach some classes, and I'm actually taking a class with him. Dude, pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you, pal.
Living the dream, man.
Cool.
Let's do this.
All right.
So we are, we're in Marlborough, Massachusetts, which, like I said, is nowhere.
Yeah, we're getting on the road and going to interact with Massachusetts drivers, so.
Right, so everybody needs to buckle in.
Yeah, strap in.
Welcome to the Commonwealth, baby.
Strap it in, strap it on.
You got it. So tell us about yourself. How did you get into guns? You've got a lot of classes that you teach, and you teach all over. You teach all over the place.
Yeah,
how did you get into this? Because I was reading some of your background stuff, and it said you were a martial arts guy, and you were a gun guy, and which came first?
I don't know, the chicken or the egg.
Right.
The dinosaur, I think. So I was born in. I'm originally from Western Pennsylvania, and you know, Western Pennsylvania, back when I was growing up, you could walk out of your house, sling your .22 rifle over your shoulder, all of 7 years, 8 years old, whatever you were, and walk through the neighborhood, you know, a mile to the woods where everyone would go and shoot, and no one would say a word. It was back in, you know, the late 70s, where this was kind of a normal thing for kids out there. Everybody had BB guns, everyone had .22 rifles, everyone had CO2 pistols because they were the cool thing. And it was kind of a normal thing to just, you're driving down a road, you see a couple kids walking with rifles, heading towards the woods, and they're going to go shoot.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal at all. And there's a whole different sort of social view on gun culture back then.
Sure.
You know, especially for not so much the East Coast, but like, you know, central Western Pennsylvania, Ohio, that sort of whole area was kind of normal.
It was. I grew up in the Midwest, and I wasn't an outdoors guy and didn't grow up hunting or shooting or anything, but I've had a lot of friends in high school that would they'd go hunting all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and it was no big deal for them to have a shotgun and a .22 rifle.
Yeah. And I grew up, like I said, I was born in 1970, so as I was growing up, getting into like first grade, second grade, you know, the Star Wars movie, the real first one, the real good one.
Right, the real one.
That came out, and then you had Battlestar Galactica, and then somewhere along the line, you got Magnum PI, you had the A-Team, You had the reruns of I Spy with Bill Cosby and Robert Culp back before Bill Cosby was, you know,
Right, before it was the 1980s.
Yeah.
And before he did all that stuff.
So you had a lot of gun culture on TV as well. And I think, watching Magnum PI and watching I Spy, Robert Culp carried a 1911, so did Magnum. It's where I sort of fell in love with the 1911, the semi-automatic pistol.
Yeah.
And it was always one of my favorite platforms. I'm a Glock guy now, but for a long time, it was the 1911.
That's cool.
And, just sort of fascinated by guns, how they worked, and, had rifles and BB guns and 22s, and just, as I grew up, this was always one of my interests. I was never into sports.
Yeah.
Like, I could never do, like, the whole fan worship of, like, wearing a shirt with somebody else's name on the back, like,
Oh my God, yeah. I remember being in the late 70s. I grew up in the Midwest. I had no idea where anything was. I know I was a Cubs fan, but when Reggie Jackson had a candy bar, I was into Reggie Jackson and having the Reggie bar.
Yeah. Cool.
Right.
Candy bar.
And that was it. Candy bar. That's all I was looking for.
So I never really got into sports. It was always just like, all right, I get it. Like, I would rather go and do the sports, but I couldn't, like, sit and watch sports on TV, like watching football, watching baseball on TV.
Yeah.
I was more of like, hey, let's just go do something. So I got more into sort of firearms, and I got more into music. Still am huge into all different types of music.
Cool.
Mostly the underground stuff, punk rock, punk metal, alternative stuff, outlaw country, like the real country, not like what you're seeing now on the radio or hearing on, the radio or watching on TV.
What do you think about Erin Lewis being an outlaw country guy?
I never heard of her.
Oh, okay.
I'm more of like Buck Owens, Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Mac Wiseman, Hank Thompson, Hank Snow, even David Allan Coe. He's a little weird sometimes.
He's a little weird.
But if you find the humor in it, which I think a lot of people lost these days, but that's more of where I'm coming from with country music.
Yeah, that's cool.
Garth Brooks sort of started this weird trend of pop country,
poppy,
which was just absolute garbage, I thought. I do like a guy named Scott H. Byram, B-I-R-A-M.
Okay.
Byram. Really good stuff. Very similar to like an old school sound.
Cool.
Which is neat. But yeah, I mean, you're not getting that same level of originality that you used to get. I mean, I guess everybody's sober now, but I don't know. But yeah, just growing up, being into guns, I was probably the only kid in 3rd grade who had a copy of Guns and Ammo magazine in his backpack.
Oh my God.
Nowadays the school would be shut down and everybody, police would be called just for the magazine. But that was kind of like what I was into. I used to read the Mac Bolan, the Executioner books, that series that kind of was like a novel version of the Punisher. So Frank Castle. This was Mac Bolan. So I was into all that stuff, and I learned what 9mm and 45 were, and at like 4th grade I could tell you all about the P38 versus the Luger, and
wow,
it's some cool stuff.
That's pretty wild.
And then somewhere around 6th, 7th grade, started doing martial arts, karate, and been a lifelong martial arts fan. All the different weaponry and things like that, and different styles, different techniques, Goju, Shotokan, Ishinryu, Okinawa style.
Wow, that's pretty. I never did any martial arts stuff.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. A lot of good camaraderie in the dojo,
Sure.
You work out together, you do push-ups together, you punch each other in the face, you throw each other around. See how hard you can hit each other without really getting the other person mad at you.
Right.
And then at the same time, you also see how hard of a punch you can take. So it's, don't dish it out if you can't take it. Was always the motto in our dojo. But yeah, I just always had a love for it. Love for the build, the mechanics of it, the techniques of it. And I just wanted to do things. I was never a video game dude.
Yeah.
So I never got into like the PlayStation and the whatever else.
Atari, it was back then. Atari,
it was Atari and Intellivision. We had Intellivision. But I never really, never really got crazy into it like everybody else did. Everyone was like, oh man, do you play Halo? I'm like, nah. I get some people back then, like when Call of Duty came out, they were like, oh, you should really check out Call of Duty, man. It's awesome. You like run around and you can shoot all these different guns, and I'm just sitting here like, really? So you have any idea what I do on the weekends, do you? Like,
right?
No, but you get to pick like an AK or an AR-15 or an Uzi, and I'm like, sweet. I do that when I open my safe. I pick which one I want to go shoot.
Right, I get to shoot real guns.
And I get to go outside, or I get to be with people, So, always just trying to do something, it was always like a challenge. It was always an adventure, And it is basically the way I grew up, as opposed to what society views as acceptable behavior now, I guess, is completely different. But
absolutely.
But back then, there was a lot of shooting, like recreational shooting, sport shooting. Never got into hunting for some odd reason, but target shooting was always the thing. Target shooting with sort of like a self-defense based sort of theme to it.
So that's cool. That is really cool. So where do you go from there? You get a little older, I assume.
So I got older, and high school happened. And at high school, all of the sort of outdoor interests that I had, suddenly, I had different interests. Girls, beer, weed, whatever, the high school kid gets into.
Sure.
And I kind of fell out of everything. I fell out of the martial arts, fell out of the firearms for a while. Got out of high school and got heavily into the music industry. I worked as a DJ for several nightclubs in New York City. Started DJing across the country, then started DJing in other parts of the world. Worked at several of the big nightclubs in New York, everything from DJing to managing to working the door to working security. Being someone who was a little more athletic looking than other people, and not willing to, not ashamed or not hesitant to get their hands dirty, you should say.
Right.
I had different jobs at different clubs, but kind of got into that, and then left that end of the music industry and started working as a booking agent for bands. So we'd have a roster of bands, and when they would want to tour, we would pick up the phone and start calling around the country to different clubs, different promoters, and say, hey, we have so-and-so coming through at this date. Would you like to book them? Here's the fee, here's the rider, blah, blah, blah. And going through all the contract work with that, which people will say, well, how does that relate to what you do now? And it really set me up for
absolutely
working for yourself. So where I used to call up and try to be like, hey, I've got so-and-so coming through, blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, hey, yeah, range in Ohio. I'm coming through the area on such date. I would like to do a shotgun class. Do we have somebody to host it? How can I set this up? Can I rent out the club? And pretty much, for the traveling that I do all my own booking. So I do all my own booking and do all my own negotiations. That all stems from back there in the music industry.
That's cool.
Right around 2006, I just kind of said I had enough with the music industry. I just got tired of it, didn't want to deal with it. Too many messed up people, too many two-faced people, a lot of egos, a lot of rock star attitudes,
right?
Which we still see in the firearms industry.
Right. But it's not specific to music.
A couple years prior to that, I had jumped back into the firearms. So, like 2001, I got back into shooting. 2006, I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to make a career shift.
Yeah.
And I started working at a bunch of ranges, a couple different ranges as a range officer. Got my first NRA certification. Yay.
You're all official.
Yeah, well, It basically means you have a piece of paper that says, hey, you can sit through 12 hours of lecture, shoot 50 rounds, and pay $300.
Right.
Cool, you can now teach people.
You can now teach people how to do the same thing.
So, started teaching. Thought I knew everything. Realized a couple years later, taking a class from another instructor, that you don't really know everything. You never, ever know everything. You know something, and you know a little bit about this and a little bit about that.
Yep.
Somewhere around 2010, 4 years later, got really into teaching, and that's when we first formed OnSight Firearms Training. From there, I would say, I was working at a couple gun shops, working at a couple ranges, teaching.
Where were you living?
This is in New York, so this by this time I'm in New York. Just the edited version. New York State, not city.
Okay, obviously.
And left the stores, left working at the shops, so I got a job working for a firearms manufacturer in Yonkers, a company called Kimber.
Okay.
And worked in the customer service / product service department for about a year, and that was just, I was the guy that got to test fire all the repair guns. So there were days where I would shoot probably 50 guns, 40, 50 guns, like 5 mags each. So it's a
sounds like a cool job from the outside.
Sounds like a cool job from the outside. Remember, every Monday morning you're somebody's bitch. So worked in that department for about a year, and then I transferred over to the gunsmith department. In the gunsmith department, I started to learn to fix, repair, upgrade, customize 1911s. And I spent the next probably 5.5 years spending all day, every day, working, repairing, building, fixing, customizing, whatever. 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch 1911s, shooting them, doing all kinds of fun stuff. And that was a cool gig. But again, Monday morning is still Monday morning. You got people that work upstairs that wear suit and ties that come downstairs and they say, hey, how come we're not making drop-in parts for 1911s? How come you guys have to hand fit all these parts?
Right.
And you try to explain to someone who doesn't own guns, doesn't shoot guns, their last job as the vice president was at vice president of John Deere or Whirlpool. They have zero knowledge on guns.
Right.
Trying to explain to you, well, how come guns just don't do this? And it's like, guy, we're doing steel on steel, metal on metal.
Right.
These parts need to be fit. Not everything is the exact same spec, so you do have to file and polish and make things smoothed out a little bit. And they're like, well, what about this company Glock seems to have drop-in parts? It's like, yeah, and all the drop-in parts are aftermarket parts. And if we put aftermarket parts in our guns, we void the customer's warranty. And it's all kinds of, all kinds of basically people who don't do what you do, telling you how to do what you do. And at one point, probably about 2017, I kind of did a desk flip, and I said, screw it. I'm making far more money on the weekends teaching classes than I was during the week.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, what could I possibly do if I had more time to focus on my own company? Like, how big would OnSight Firearms Training get if I wasn't spending Monday through Friday working for somebody else and I spent it working for myself?
Right.
So had to check with the boss, aka the wife, and I said, hey, here's something that I want to do. Can I do this?
What do you think about this?
Yeah. No, it wasn't what do you think, it's am I allowed to do this? And she was just like,
how many black belts does she have?
she's a 2nd degree black belt.
Okay.
I'm a 3rd degree black belt, so
all right.
does not mean I have any say in anything, but what it does mean is, I gotta, just say like, hey, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it,
right?
This is why I want to do it, and I'm gonna get it done. And she knows me. She knows I'm the type of person that if I say, hey, I'm gonna go do this, then I'm gonna go do it. I'm not gonna half-ass it. So literally walked off the job. Literally said, you know what? Screw this, I'm out of here. Probably not the smartest thing to do, but at the time, you know, you got to act on impulse.
Right.
And I went home and sat down, opened up the laptop and said, let's go. And started booking from Saturday to Saturday. Classes, private classes, classroom only lecture, rifle, pistol, shotgun, from Maine to Florida to Ohio.
Wow.
Right now we've got something like 23 different facilities / ranges that we teach classes at. And they just keep coming. They just keep adding to that. So
when did you get all the certifications for this? Because I know you've got, I was looking at your resume, and you've got the NRA rifle, shotgun, handgun, and personal protection inside the home. You got the Utah class. You've got Tom Givens Range Master. You've a Master Pistol Instructor from SIG.
Yes.
Like, how did you slide all of this in with?
So over the course, over the course from 2006, I did. NRA pistol instructor and NRA range officer, and then somewhere around 2008 I did NRA chief range safety officer.
Okay.
Past that, a couple years later, it was rifle, shotgun, personal protection in the home. All NRA classes.
Yeah.
Utah was in there as well, the Utah Concealed Firearms Permit Instructor.
Yeah.
Somewhere after Utah was Massachusetts State Police Certified Firearms Instructor to teach the Massachusetts class.
Right. I was wondering how you were getting away with that this week.
And well, I have my Massachusetts non-resident.
Non-res. So you're one of your hobbies is to apply for the Mass license?
Oh, I got all of them. Yeah, it's a yearly hobby with that one. Past that, went and got the, I realized, you know, my wife and I had a discussion about the company, and we realized that, you know, the gun stuff is cool, the certifications are cool, but the knowledge and the ability is probably much cooler. So we just took a ton of classes from every instructor that we could get in front of.
Yeah.
And also in there we decided, hey, we also need medical training. So I went and I got TCCC certification, TECC certification.
What do those stand for?
It's the Tactical Combat Casualty Care.
Okay.
It's basically med classes, first aid, trauma care. So if anything does happen on the range, you should be able to, you know, attend to your student or attend to yourself or somebody, whoever it is.
Sure.
Instead of standing there going, somebody dial 911.
Right.
What do we do? You know, don't rely on anybody else. So we got all that, and I spent a lot of time thinking where I wanted to go from there. And the two options were the Sig Sauer Academy certifications or Range Master.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know which one was better than the other, because you ask the SIG guys and they'll bash the, you know, the Range Master, and you ask the Range Master and they'll bash the SIG. And I said, well, you know, F both of you, I'm going to do both. So I went and did, I think it was 2018 or 19, went and did the 3-day instructor development with Tom Givens, the Range Master. Got that. Came back a year later and did the advanced Range Master, which was a little bit harder, but still passed it, flying colors. And then last year, I went up to SIG, and we had already, my wife and I have taken 75 different courses, classes up at SIG.
Wow.
Yeah, we were like regulars there for a while. They
don't even offer 75 classes, do they?
We've done multiple. So we've done 103, 104 several times. We've done the close quarter. We've done the rifle classes.
Cool.
Ran through the entire protective shooting series twice.
Wow. Twice.
We worked up there as bad guys in the protective shooting series at one point, because we had been to it so many times.
Right.
So I went and did the master pistol instructor, and that was pretty good too. Little spicy. The qual was easier than the class. So the class had some strict time parameters and some distances, and throughout the class you're like, oh my god, I'm never going to pass this qual. And then you get to the qual and it's like they just spent the entire day setting you up to pass the qual. So I scored a perfect score on the qual.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I kind of have a habit of like scaring the crap out of myself, and then when it comes time to qual, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So it keeps me humble,
right.
I guess. Like the Tom Givens, the 3-day qual, the 3-day instructor development. The qual at the end is you do the 2019 FBI qual twice, and you do the Rangemaster qual twice. Rangemaster qual is a little bit longer, a little bit harder, with shorter times than the FBI qual. And I got 100 across the board, all 4 of them, because you do them back to back.
Yeah.
One right after the other. So I got 100 across the board, and it was funny because after each qual, if you ever met Tom Givens, he's a very nice guy, but very southern.
Not yet. He's from Texas, right?
Memphis, Tennessee, I believe.
Memphis, okay.
But he has a very, I don't want to say sarcastic, but he's a very dry humor. He's just like, well, that was stupid for you to do, and he'll walk away, you know, like, but it's kind of in a funny way.
Right.
Great dude. One of my favorite dudes that I ever learned from. And, you know, first qual, he comes over, goes, DeWalt, 100, walks away. Comes back over, DeWalt, 100 on the second qual, walks away. We get to the 4th qual, and he kind of looks at me, looks at the target, looks at his clipboard, looks at me, and he goes, DeWalt, 100, 100, 100, 100. And he goes, we don't get many of those, and walks away. And I'm like, wait, come back.
I need to enjoy
to get this on video. Like,
right.
Don't leave. And I was just like, oh, but it was one of those things where like, you get through those quals and you're just like, I'm like, now I'm ready to pass out. I just want to go and go to sleep.
Sure.
Because I spent 3 days being like, am I gonna pass? Am I gonna? So did the Rangemasters and then did the SIG qual. The SIG qual was awesome. Chris Cav from SIG was the lead instructor for it. Phenomenal instructor. Cav's one of my favorite guys up there. Definitely dig Cav. He, you know, I did the 250, which was the top score, and then, you know, I thought, okay, cool, we're done, so I relax.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whew, cool, passed it. And he goes, all right, guys, let's do it again. And I looked at him and I went, we're doing what? And he goes, don't worry about it. You're sitting pretty. He goes, you already passed. He's like, just do it again.
Just do it.
So I did it the second time and I missed 1 round.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I was like, whatever. But it was like, they have an 8-inch circle, little 8-inch chest plate circle.
Yeah.
And you do like a specific number of rounds at a specific distance that is not close. We'll just call it that. And one of the rounds was like a 1/2 inch outside of the circle.
Oh man.
And I was like,
frigga rigga rigga.
you can edit this out. But I was just like, well, I already passed, so it's not going to kick my ass as much as if I hadn't passed. You know, if I hadn't gotten a perfect score for the first one. Right. Because it was the higher, whatever the higher of the 2 scores was the one that they took. So if you scored poorly the first time, they gave you a second chance.
Yeah.
But if you nail it on the first one, it's like, like literally my body went. So, but it was a good time.
That is cool.
So did that. Yeah, just I constantly want to train. I constantly either want to teach or want to train. You know, there's no point in this whole thing where I ever say, well, I'm done, I've learned it all, because things change or you miss something. Right. I still to this day will go and take, you know, like a vehicle class. We'll go and take like some advanced carbine rappelling down the side of a building class. And then the next day we'll go take a pistol 101 class. And people are like, how come you're taking this class? And I'll be like, because I want to learn something. Right. I took a handgun fundamentals class with an instructor, and it was a couple months ago, and one of my buddies was like, why did you sign up for that? And I'm like, well, it's not what he's teaching that I'm curious about. It's how he's teaching it. Yes. And who he's teaching it to, why he's teaching it, in the way that he's teaching it to the person that he's teaching it to. And I just like to see other people work, because if I could pick up one way of explaining something to you that you'll understand, as opposed to like a previous way of explaining it.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I still don't get it.
Someone else is gonna want
That's that's like a good way to really connect with people, is to have, you know, options on how to present something to somebody. So
Totally.
not looking to steal people's material, but just looking to see how people interact
absolutely.
with that one student who doesn't quite get it. And we get those. We get those on occasion. We get the people that are like, I don't understand it. And I'll be like, well, I explained it twice. Well, I still don't understand it. And that's when you have to switch and be like, all right, let me explain it to you like this.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, yeah. So getting into any class is always a bonus, regardless of what the level of it is. You know, we ended up, Rachel and I took an intro to defensive rifle class up at SIG, and our buddy Todd Moriarty was teaching it, and he's in the classroom. We walk in, and he looks at us. He goes, "What are you guys doing here?" I'm like, "We're here for your class." And he's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Why?" I'm like, "I want to take the class. Why not?"
Right.
So he's like, "All right." So of course the first question comes up, and he's like, "All right, everyone, what does the AR and AR-15 stand for?" You know, and I raise my hand.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Not you." Like, but I know this one.
Right.
I actually know this answer.
You know, I've been telling people that for the last year, I said, you know what AR stands for? And when I teach classes, I usually, you know, people always, of course, want to guess assault rifle and automatic rifle. But I give them a couple of options. I say, does it stand for anxiety reducer?
Yes.
Does it stand for American rifle?
Absolutely.
Does it stand for, I always say asshole remover?
Absolutely.
And then the newest one that I've added is anti-riot. Yeah,
I like that one.
because when there's a riot and you pull out an AR, the riot disappears. So it's an anti-riot rifle.
It's true.
All right, we're going to take a little breather here. We are in, do you know where we are?
Concord.
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 We're gonna park.
We're going to park
over
at
here.
Concord.
Park over here in Concord.
And we're going to go to the Old North Bridge, which is where the American Revolution started. So we will be right back in uno momento.
Hopefully with no revolutions starting just yet.
I don't think...
All I've got on me is a pistol.
Let's put it this
It
way.
might work, but I'm gonna need a little bit more.
A little bit more. I might have something in the trunk.
Well, if we're riding
I
shotgun
might
with Charlie,
So there is a shotgun in the trunk?
there should be.
And there's an AR?
Otherwise, this is false advertising.
And probably 8 handguns?
Okay.
So anyway, I have a hunch if there is a revolution, it is not going to be started in Massachusetts anymore.
No, I don't think
Not
so.
at all.
No.
All right, we'll be back.
Unless there's like a barista revolution.
Yeah, no, I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
All right, so we are, we just went and got a selfie, which we'll put in the video here, in front of the Colonel Parker. It's Peter Parker. No, not Peter Parker. Colonel Parker.
Come on.
Colonel John Parker. And we crossed the Old North Bridge, which is really pretty cool and pretty wild. It's one of these things. It's the Old North Bridge, but they've replaced the whole thing.
Yeah. There's a lot of history up here,
There really is.
and I don't know any of it.
I wish I knew more.
I'm not from here. My wife is from Massachusetts, so she could probably give us the whole rundown on everything. Like, tell us about that picket fence there. But like, I don't know anything really about the history of Massachusetts. I just hadn't started coming up to Massachusetts until like the year 2000. So
That's quite all right, man. I'm from Illinois, and I always tell people it's a good place to be from. So you were telling us that you book all your classes, you book all the travel, you do all this stuff yourself. Do you just stay on the East Coast? I mean, you said you had stuff all the way down from Maine down to Florida.
We've had stuff up in Maine. We've taught classes down in South Carolina. I've got classes coming up in Michigan and Ohio.
Wow, cool.
Had something booked in Florida, just scheduling conflicts. We had to postpone it.
Yeah.
Looking to get back down to Florida at some point. Been down there a lot for other stuff, but haven't taught a class down there yet. But the South Carolina, lots of classes in Virginia. We're mostly in New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. But, you know, looking to move some classes out to the Midwest. Still more classes in Ohio. We got a good spot in Michigan, so we're going to do hopefully some more things out there in Michigan. You know, I'm just kind of like, yeah, whatever. You know, it's a full-time job, so if I'm not working, I'm not working, and that's a problem.
Right.
If I'm not somewhere doing something,
not working, not bringing any money in.
Got a house to pay for, got, you know, cars, lifestyle, ammo to pay for.
Ammo. So I was wondering about this. I mean, you're teaching classes everywhere. You said you're from New York, so I assume you get a New York permit, so you're going to have things there. And you said you got your mass non-res. Pennsylvania seems to be pretty easy to get.
Yeah.
So New Hampshire and from Virginia, these are free states.
Yeah.
Free America. Travel, like booking all the travel. How often do you teach classes? How often are you on the road? Are you?
So it's usually every Saturday, Sunday is a weekend class. Those are full day classes. 1 or 2 Mondays a month, I teach a night class up in Connecticut. You can see all this. All these are on the website.
We'll put a link there, obviously.
Wednesday night, I have every Wednesday night, about 10 minutes from the house, we have our local range. So we do this little 6 to 9 p.m. skill builder. Thursdays, every other Thursday, I teach out in Wilkes-Barre, PA, at a range out there. Another 6 to 9 skill builder. Fridays, we either do a nighttime class from 6 to 10 by the house once or twice a month, or we do a daytime class once or twice a month at this other local range.
Wow.
But usually the classes that we teach on a regular basis are Wednesday, Thursday, occasional Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and occasional Monday. So Tuesdays tend to be my day off.
Tuesday's your weekend?
Yeah, just Tuesday. And that's when I got to get all the housework done. I got to get tattooed. I got to get all that other stuff done. But we, so like, for example, this weekend I have a private lesson later today. It's Friday. And then Saturday, Sunday, I have classes. And then Monday night, I have a Monday night in Connecticut. The following Monday, I have a Monday night in Cape Cod. So it's kind of like all over the place. Generally, that Tuesday and an occasional Friday are, you know, the days off during the week. But every other opportunity that we have to run classes, whether I'm running it, whether Rachel's running it.
Rachel's your wife?
Yeah.
And you guys have someone else that instructs for you
There's
guys?
2 other. So we've got a couple people. We've got Scott Grosso, who is another senior instructor. He is currently in Alabama on a contract that he's been working for a company. He should be coming back hopefully sometime soon.
Yeah.
Law enforcement instructor. He did 15 years as a law enforcement instructor with the NYPD.
Wow.
So very good dude. Learned a lot from Scott. Scott learned a lot from us. So there's a constant back and forth with us, but great dude. He teaches our long range rifle program, so our precision rifle shooting. He is also teaches all the other stuff as well. I primarily teach rifle, pistol, shotgun, carbine, and Scott does the long range, and then we'll teach shotgun, rifle, etc.
Yeah.
But he's been busy with this other gig that he's doing for a while. We just had a class down in Virginia where he taught long range, which was a fantastic weekend. We were shooting out to about 700 yards.
Wow.
That's 308s. But once the summer hits, we're hoping to get Scott back into heavier rotation with classes. The other instructor we have is Matthew Hilton. Matthew is our medical instructor. He's been in active duty with the Army for 25 plus years, so kind of close to 30 years in the Army. He is a combat medic, so he teaches our TACMED Trauma Lifesaver class, helps me teach the Stay in the Fight class, which is half TACMED, half shooting, half trauma care, half shooting. So he's been with us, those two guys have been with us for pretty much the beginning. Rachel and I are the co-owners of the company. And then we have a couple RSOs, our buddy Rob and our other buddy Chris, that are our range safety officers that help us out with classes when we have an abundance of students signed up. So if we have a shotgun class and we've got 15 people in the shotgun class, I usually call those guys in and they give us a hand with the line. But yeah, we've got a good crew of staff, and we've got a great crew of clients, students / customers that have just been with us, some of them since day one. Wow, that's cool. I got guys that come out, you know, every other month, and they've been coming out since 2010, you know, or 2000, you know.
Do you design the curriculums yourself?
Yes.
So do you?
So I do most of the curriculum design. My wife, Rachel, hops in on some of the things. She designs all of her classes specifically.
The ladies' classes?
Yeah, the ladies' classes, the beginners' classes. She does a lot of the intro classes. So the NRA Basic Pistol Safety class, she will teach.
Right.
The intro to pistol shooting, intro to shotgun, etc., she will teach. She also teaches the defensive shotgun, defensive pistol as well, if I'm away or I'm doing something. So it's really, one of the things that we've done with this company is we've established sort of a baseline curriculum. Yeah. Of like, this is what we're teaching, this is how it's going to get taught, this is the stuff that we have to cover. Right. And then the rest,
it's up to kind of what?
Improvise. Right. You know, it's total impromptu, whatever you think the class needs. So while there is a little bit of a guideline, a set curriculum, there's also a lot of flexibility and freedom for that instructor, if it's not me, to add in sort of their little flavor or their sort of take on things. Sure. As long as the important parts are met. You know, holster draw, presentation, right? How to grip your gun, how to work your trigger, and from there it's kind of like it's on you. So that's the crew. That is really cool. It's a good time. It is a good time. Got to keep it interesting. The reason I love doing this is you have a lot of freedom. You got a lot of freedom to help people, because if I have one student here and I'm showing this person how to solve the problem that they're having, you could be having the same problem, but maybe I got to show you a different way for you to solve that problem. So there's got to be some flexibility. It can't be like this set in stone curriculum, and if you can't get with a curriculum, then get out. It's no, you have to be able to sort of customize that or be a little bit flexible for the people that you're dealing with. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
that is cool.
You'll see tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sure there's going to be a wide array of skill levels tomorrow. So
I'm looking forward to it. My buddy Mark Lindblom is he's a local guy. He's taking classes with you and a lot of folks that come to Massachusetts.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah, he's really cool. He got in touch with me out of the blue, and he's like, hey, I see that you're friends with these people, and I'm friends with these people, and I see you're local, and I'm local. Let's get together and have lunch. Okay. So, and then he's like, hey, Ben would be this really cool guy to get in the car. I'm like, all right, let's see what we can do, and made the connection. I'm like, all right, he's taking a class. Are you going to take the class? He's like, yeah, I'll take the class. I'm like, all right, we'll do it, man. Let's do it. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's supposed to be sunny and 70 degrees tomorrow.
God, I hope so.
So it's looking to be like the perfect range day with that. As long as it's not windy, we should be okay.
John Green likes to say Mother Nature is a gunny. So let's hope Let's hope the Mother Nature comes through.
The last class I taught
I don't want to hear about
Maynard, it poured all day.
Oof.
Yeah.
I went to, I was with one of my buddies this week up at SIG. We did Handgun 103. And we had almost all of the seasons. It was windy, it was sunny, it was windy, then it rained, and
you were outdoors?
Yeah, we were outdoors, awesome. And then the sun went away.
Welcome to New Hampshire. You don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes.
Wait a minute. Exactly.
Who was the instructor?
The instructor was Rich Simmons.
Don't know.
And the assistant was a guy, his name was Mike. Mike's a big, gruff, bald dude. Little goatee.
And
I think he was an air marshal.
Might know.
Yeah. I mean, they were good guys. The class was really good.
Yeah, they got some. Every once in a while, there's like, you know, this changeover of staff there. So,
yeah.
You know, you take multiple classes from these guys. You start recognizing people. They remember. You start talking to them. You start becoming friends with them, and then next thing you know, they're gone. So it's. Justin Christopher, Eric Palmer, Chris Cav, those guys are still up there. They're great dudes.
My buddy and I. So what I did was I interviewed a couple of the ladies from A Girl and a Gun, and so there were I don't know 10 of them coming up here, and I interviewed 3 of them. I drove up to New Hampshire. I interviewed 3 of them while they were at SIG, and then I'm like, this place looks really cool, and if they're taking classes there, I should probably take a class there. And the way they have it set up is you got to do the Handgun 101, and then 102, 103, 104.
They say that.
They say that, and I'm like, I don't want to go in and say I know how to do all this stuff already. Yeah. So I'm just going to go in, and I did it with a buddy of mine. We did 101 late in the summer, maybe early in the fall, and we had a female instructor, and I can't remember her name. And then
what she look like?
She was tall and thin and cute. Does that narrow it down?
Well, you got. I don't know if Jennifer Moriarty still teaches there.
I don't think so. This woman spent part of the year. She said she lived in Boston.
Another girl named Michelle something. I forget.
I don't know if it was Michelle. She lives in St. Martin half the year. That rings a bell. I don't know. Her name might have been Nicole, I think. But we did 101 and 102, and she was our instructor. And then we did 103 this week. Last month we did a modern sporting rifle class, which was really cool. And what I liked about it is what I didn't like about it. It's made me realize that I want to make some changes on my AR. Like I'm not.
How much crap do you have on your gun?
I have nothing on it.
Okay.
Like my forend is just a regular plastic forend with like a 1960s, you know.
Yeah, A2. Yeah.
Yes. I have a skeleton stock on it, which I thought looked cool, and I liked it because a lot of folks didn't have it. And then there's a sling on the left side, and there's not one up by the back.
Yeah.
You know, by the buttstock.
Yep.
So of course the way they do it is they've got the sling on the top, and they got a sling on the bottom of the rail. And I'm like, oh my god, this is so much easier and so much lighter. And mine is got one little sling loop in it, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. It feels dumb and it feels wrong.
Yeah, the good thing about these classes, as like you said, is also the bad thing. You kind of can shake out your gear. It gives you an opportunity to see what works, see what doesn't work, see what looks really cool, but is completely impractical when you actually try to use it.
Right.
We get guys that come in every once in a while, and they'll have, their optic, they'll have a magnifier, they'll have the side-mounted, the diagonal, like offset sights mounted.
Right.
And then they'll have, the forward grip, the bipod, the GoPro camera, the MP3 player holder, the beer koozie, the cell phone holder, the USB ports. Like everything that you could possibly think of has been attached to this gun.
For what?
There is so much crap on this gun. And you get 50 rounds into the class, and we have to stop and dig through the toolkit to find the right size Allen key to tighten up all this dude's stuff that's now come loose, or to take stuff off because he realized that this is banging into my knuckle when I shoot and it hurts, and yeah, I didn't put this on and shoot it, I just kind of put it on where I thought it would be, or I thought this was a good idea, and now I'm finding out it's not. And I tell people, like, get yourself a good, for like your AR, get a good sling, get a good optic, get a light. That's about it. The laser pointers and this and that, I mean, whatever. You know, I have a tiny little hand stop underneath my rail. I don't have the drop down grip. I don't have the bipod, any of that crazy stuff. I try to run it as streamlined as possible, as slick as possible. Yeah. It's just the more stuff you have on the gun, the more stuff you have to tighten, the more stuff you have to fix, the more stuff you have to take off, the more stuff that's going to get caught on things when you're moving around. Same with shotguns. Guys want to put, you know, the pistol grips and the drop down front vertical grips, and now you've created this pivot point while you're shooting, and you know, the less I have on all the guns, the better. You know. Gotcha. So, lights are good and optics are good and ammo is even better. So
right. So I was the only guy in the class. I don't have a SIG, and when we went up for 101, they provide all the guns.
Right.
So we used one of their guns. When we went up for 102, I brought my Glock. My buddy's got a SIG. I thought it was really interesting that for the classes, they're like, okay, so, you know, what do you shoot? What do you, and everyone's like, well, I want one of these, I want one of these, I want this with a red dot, I'm left-handed, and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, it's kind of nice that they can sit here and say, what is it you want?
Yeah.
And part of me is like, well, if this isn't your carry gun, if you're taking a defensive class to learn how to work the gun better, shouldn't you use your gun? That's kind, you know, that's kind of my attitude towards it.
I think it's a great attitude. Like, run it how you live it.
Yeah.
Get the reps in, get the training in with what you're going to have on you when you need that training to kick in. But at the same time, some people like to go up to SIG and they just love the whole fantasy camp of it.
Right.
You know, I had a guy, one of our regular students, went up to SIG for like 4 days, 5 days, and I said, well, what classes are you taking? He's like, oh, we're going to take 103 and 104 pistol, we're going to take pistol close quarter, we're going to take like rifle 102, and then some other class. And I was like, sweet. So let me know how it goes. Let me know who the instructors were. You know, if you text me each day, let me know who it is. If I know them, I'll say, hey, you know, make sure you say that I said hi.
Right.
And he comes back, and I'm like, hey man, how was your week up at SIG? And he was like, it was cool. Classes were fun. He goes, but everything we did is the same thing I do with you in your classes for about $2,000 less.
Right.
And I said, yeah, I know. And he goes, I should have probably just stayed here with you. And I'm like, well, you know, you don't get the cool factor of going to SIG.
Right.
You are at essentially like the mecca for the firearms community in the Northeast. Like, that's where everybody wants to go to train. Yeah. I like to go there. I have fun when I go there. It's a good time. But I wouldn't go there to do like a pistol 103 because I want to do a 103. I would go and do a pistol 103 to fill in, like, hey, I have an open day, let's go do pistol 103.
Gotcha.
But I wouldn't be like, I'm going to set out to go up and do the same class that I can do with like my local instructors.
Right.
If I go up to SIG, it's for some sort of certification class. I mean, this is where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I'll go up for the guest instructors. Like, so if somebody's teaching up there that's not normally there, sweet, let's go. I'll go up for the more sort of detailed, advanced-oriented type class up there. Or if I'm going, like, I got a class on a Saturday in Massachusetts, and I got a day off on the Sunday or the Friday, I'll squeeze in a SIG class to sort of round off the weekend.
Sure.
And then there's like I have a Tuesday booked coming up in June that I'm doing a close quarter class up there because I had the Tuesday off.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I got a Tuesday off. I'll go up to SIG for the day. So it's kind of like that. But I wouldn't like set out to do, for me right now, classes that I've done there before or that I do at home or that I could do with any instructor because of the hotels, the travel, the gas,
oh my gosh,
the food.
that ends up being just as expensive as everything else.
And then if you get on the frangible range, you got to buy the frangible ammo because you can't run your regular ammo. So much as I love the place, I kind of figure out when and why I want to go there.
Right.
And he was just like, yeah, it's the same classes, same things we do with you. He's like, but you know, all the guys wanted to go because it's SIG.
Right.
It's like, yeah, they all want the fantasy, like the Disneyland kind of experience.
Sure.
Instead of like the Coney Island experience, you know? Like
that's kind of what I noticed. There, in the 102 class, what I got out of the 102 class up there was the whole trigger reset. And I guess I knew what trigger reset was, but I didn't understand it and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And then it's one of those things like when you're shooting trap and skeet, you know, you pull the gun up, you're like, oh my God, I don't have time to aim, I don't have time to look, I don't have time to anything. And then you go through a couple boxes of some shells with the clays, and you're like, oh, I got plenty of time for this. You know, and I used to think the same thing. I'm like, there's no way you can tell. Yeah, you can. If you shoot enough, you can feel that.
But the 102, really cool. The 103, those classes, there's nothing in those classes that you couldn't learn from someone like John Green from Gold.
Yeah.
Even the 104. They may have a little SIG specific drills that John might not know, that I might not know.
Right.
But for the most part, you know, classes like that, look for your local guys. You know, support your local guys as well.
Yeah, totally.
If you want to do, you know, force on force and, you know, the vehicle, you know, bullets and vehicles and things like that, like SIG's a great place for that. And if you're a beginner, for the beginners, the beginner programs, the 102s, also very good. But you get to a certain point where you've done those a couple times and it's like, one of my biggest regrets when we did like the 75 classes my wife and I took at SIG is that we spent a good chunk of time just going to SIG. And while we learned a lot, we learned the SIG way.
SIG way, right.
And when I sort of ventured outside of SIG and got into taking classes with other phenomenal instructors, Craig Douglas, Chris Fry, Steve Fisher, you know, Super Dave Harrington, that's when I kind of went,
something else.
Wow,
up. Yeah.
There's other ways. There's other ways of solving these problems.
Right.
And the SIG training was good, but again, it's that way, as opposed to all these other off-roads, like other ways to get where you need to go.
Yeah.
So I still go up there. I still love the place, but I don't want to stick with just this one way of doing things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get out, get as much experience with as many different instructors as you can. You'll learn something from everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
I had a student call me up and tell me, hey, I'm taking a class with this instructor, and you know, what do you think? And I said, not really a big fan of the guy, but I said, oh yeah, enjoy the class. You'll learn something.
Right.
So I guarantee you're going to learn something in that class. And he said, cool, thanks. I just wanted to check with you. I didn't want you to get angry. See me taking a class with somebody else. And I said, you should train with as many as you can. Many instructors. Don't let me, you know, don't think you have to stick with us.
Right.
I said, we hope that you come back to us, but get out there, experiment, explore. So he goes and takes the class and calls me up that night. He goes, bro, let me talk to you for a second. I'm like,
okay.
What's up? He's like, well, I took that class today. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
He goes, what the I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, I was shooting high, which is a thing that this one student does. He has a habit of
palming.
You know, just crunching the palm of the hand in. And I said, okay. And he says, you know, the instructor came over and says, yo, you're shooting a little high here. And he's like, I explained to him that this is a problem that I have, and, you know, what should I do? How do I fix it? And he said, well, just shoot lower. And that was his answer.
Okay.
And he was just like, there was 4 people in the class. He didn't remember anybody's names. He kept calling them you and that guy and this guy.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, you know, I feel like I wasted my time. I feel like I wasted my money with taking this class. He's like, honestly, he's like, I should have just spent the money on one of your classes.
Right.
And I said, okay. And he goes, but you said to take the class. And I said, yeah, I said you'd learn something. And he goes, well, yeah. I said, what did you just tell me? And he says, well, I should have spent the money on your class. And I said, yeah, you learned something. So, you know, I like to, you know, I play around with it a little bit, but, you know, in reality, it's, you know, even if you have a bad experience, you can learn, like this kid learned when he came back in. He was like, I kind of understand what you do now and how you teach and why you teach the way that you teach.
Right.
And he, you know, not to brag or boast or anything, because that's not me. He just basically said, seeing somebody else, because he hadn't really been to any other, he's been to like 2 other instructors.
Right.
He was like, seeing the way that this guy taught and the way that you taught, he's like, I have a much more better appreciation for you and what you do, based upon what I saw from this guy. And I was like, this is what I told you. You may not learn anything new shooting-wise. You might learn something new technique-wise or teaching-wise, but you'll understand class-wise how things run or why people do certain things. So kind of he got a lot out of that. He was like, now I understand the value and what is good training and blah, 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 blah.
I always tell people when they screw something up, I say, because I've been a band teacher for 25 years, you can't really tell kids are doing things wrong anymore.
Yeah.
So I always say, hey, you did a great job being a bad example.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I just tell people everything is a learning experience. Everything is a reference point that which you can learn from. So, you know, if we're doing 10 rounds into target and you throw 1 round, but all the other rounds are dead center, and you look at that target and you go, fucking goddamn, I completely screwed that up. I'll just go, okay, so what? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit here and let that 1 round that's in the 8 ring while everything else is in the X? Are you going to let that 1 round
bother you? Yeah.
Piss you off and knock you down? Or are you just going to say, big deal, I'll do better next time. It's no big deal, I'll just brush it off. I had a student the other night who was kind of frustrated with their target, and I said, well, you're shooting a piece of paper. And he says, yeah. I said, so why are you letting a piece of paper kick your ass? You're getting upset and you're getting angry at a piece of paper.
Right.
I was like, we're going to paste over this piece of paper with another piece of paper.
It's going to be gone.
And it's going to be gone. But you're still going to be thinking about the other piece of paper. So stop letting that, just a hole in a piece of paper, weigh you down. Blow it off, brush it off, get back in it, do it again, and do it better.
Cool.
So
awesome. This is a great place to end, man.
Cool, man.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
Where can people find all your stuff? I'll put some links.
So we are on the internets. The website is OFTLLC.us, not .com, .us. We also have OnSight Firearms Training.com. I believe there is also OFTLLC.com. I'm not sure. I went and registered all these crazy different domains just because I tell somebody it's .us and they're like, I was putting in .net and it's not working, and I'm like, because it's not .net.
Right.
Adults. We're also on the Instagram, OnSight Firearms Training on Instagram. Please go and give us a follow. There is a OnSight Firearms Training Facebook page. For people that have been in live fire classes, there is also an OFT alumni Facebook page, but you have to have been in a live fire class.
Gotcha.
And the classroom classes, hand-to-hand stuff doesn't count. It has to be live fire. That one's got a bunch of different discount codes and offers. We post up all our links to available and cheap ammo in there so people can get ammo. Yeah, I just bought 8,000 rounds the other day.
Wow.
For a ridiculous price. And there's a Twitter account, but I don't really use it because Twitter's just filled with twits.
I'm with you. Twitter really seems to be a place for people to argue. Not that they don't argue on the other ones, but it seems like they argue more on Twitter. Yeah,
because you're so separated.
Yeah.
From everybody. I think you're even more so separated on Twitter. There was a Parler account. I don't know what's going on with Parler anymore.
I think Parler's up and running, but
I don't know if we still have the account. But we're mainly on Facebook and Instagram. Those are the two main social media platforms that we promote the band. Promote the band. Jesus
promote
Christ.
The band. That's a bad slip.
Promote the company on. Yeah, right. So there you go. But the website, you can contact us through the website. There's a page on the website we have called Friends and Links. And those are all different businesses as far as instructors, stores, manufacturers, places to buy gear that we work with. We work a lot with F3 Tactical out of Chantilly, Virginia, if you're familiar with them. Got to give them a plug. Big Tex Outdoors.
Big Tex Outdoors.
Ike, Jake, that whole crew.
Working, so just give a look at this one.
Yeah, Big Tex Outdoors. We have a discount code for them. It's on the website. Aridus Industries, Blue Force Gear, Dark Star Gear, Black Point Tactical, Black Center Tactical, Concealment Express, C&G holsters. They're all on the website.
All of this without a script and a piece of paper and notes.
All this without a script.
I'm impressed, man.
Marketing, man. And I got to pay bills because, Kitanica, Victos. We got a lot of companies that we work with that provide us with gear, and I don't recommend anything to anyone unless I have used it, unless I have tried to break it. As far as holsters and clothing and everything goes, I won't say, hey, you should buy this product from this company if I haven't already used it.
Cool.
And if I use it and I don't like it, I don't care what they offer, I'm going to say this stuff sucks.
Gotcha.
My Victos shoes are falling apart after 5 months, but my shorts from Victos, I love them. So
there we go.
At some point today, I'm going to REI to buy new shoes.
All right. Well, let's get out of here so you can go get those. Thanks for watching the show. Please like and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie on the YouTube. Obviously, check it out on Facebook as well. Please join the Second Amendment Foundation at saf.org. You should also check out the Self-Defense Radio Network at sdrn.us. You can watch the show on YouTube, on Gunstreamer, and on the OffsLens app. You can listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on iHeartRadio, and on all of the other places where you hear podcasts. If you want to support the show, you can get stickers and patches at ridingshotgunwithcharlie.com on the swag and merch page, and you can buy t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs at the Teespring store, which I'm going to put the link in there because I forgot what it is because they changed it. So these are for you. You can add these to your stuff.
See, all that without a script.
I know, right?
Not bad. It's almost like you've done this before.
Not bad for a white boy. Anyway, thank you so much, man. I appreciate this.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to the class.
Listen, we're not doing this tomorrow.
I'm bringing the trumpet.
Bang. The trumpet's fine, but we're not shooting up into the air.
Okay. Somebody made that's a cartoon. How could I say no?
I know. John Green will never have me back if we start shooting into the air.
All right. We will see you guys next time.